Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, what I love about my job. Every time I come here to Japan, I get the same question. And that question is, how do you get the energy to keep coming back all the time? I come here twice a year, and I go to other places around the world, like the United Kingdom. I go throughout Europe, throughout the United States. And the passion that keeps me going, what excites me, and the reason that I enjoy so much my job every day is the change. That in our industry, we have constant and never-ending change. And that is what is so exciting to me about being the CEO of Salesforce. And also the simple idea that we are part of this incredible technology continuum. It's amazing to me. You know, when I look at this chart up here, when I look up here and I see this shift that's happening, I look back at my own career and I think about Thomas Watson Jr. and the mainframes. You know, I think about Ken Olsen and the mini computers and Digital Equipment Corporation and many of the great mini computer companies. I look at Bill Gates and what he did for client-server computing. And I also look at Google and how it unleashed the internet. And then I go on, and what I see is something amazing. And what I see is the breakthrough in mobility that was really brought to us by the great Steve Jobs. And now we see another door opening to us. There's a new door opening for all of us. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Because to me, this is the most exciting change that has ever happened in our industry. And this is the social revolution. And it's being led by someone named Mark Zuckerberg. Now, there's many companies, of course, just like there are in every aspect of a revolution in our industry. Many, many great executives, many great companies, but Mark Zuckerberg has really redefined this next generation of computing. And we know that, and we know that this is truly a social revolution, something unlike we have seen before, because of this. It started at the beginning of this year when we started to see signs in the Middle East among the social disruption that was happening, and we saw this incredible change going on in the fall of Egypt, and we saw the fall of Tunisia, and we saw the disruptions in Israel, and we saw the riots in the United Kingdom. But we saw something else. We saw these signs appear. Thank you, Facebook. Spray painted on the corrugated fences in these cities. And that, to me, was very unique, very special, and very different than what I had ever seen before. Because we had never seen signs that said, thank you, IBM. We had not seen signs that said, thank you, Microsoft. We did not see signs that said, thank you, Google. Our technology was crossing into society. And I'm sure that many of you have seen these signs. But the real indication here that this is different is that we can see that this shift is not just creating this kind of social disruption, that it's a fuel. It's technology always reflects itself into society. Technology always reflects itself into society. But in this way, it's going faster. It's something bigger is happening. Something more exciting is happening. It is something that really we're just at the beginning of understanding. And to understand that point, I really want to look at this. And that is this Wael Golem. Many of you know that he was an executive at Google. And he fired off this tweet. It's called the tweet that was heard around the world. A call to all well-educated Egyptians around the world, come back ASAP to build our nation. And of course, we all know what happened. It was the fall of Egypt. It was Tahrir Square. It was the power of this individual to create a change, and it happened faster. It happened in a way that was more dynamic, than ever before. We saw speed. We saw the technology give us openness and transparency that we have not had. We saw the rise of an individual can truly make a difference. That one person can create dramatic change, and you don't know where that individual is going to come from. And that they can get great alignment, coordinate people from all over the world to help them and support them. And that the resulting change is leaderless. Who was the actual leader in Egypt? Nobody knows. Who was the actual leader in Tunisia? Nobody knows. Who was the actual leader in Israel? Nobody knows. Who was the actual leader of those rights in the United Kingdom? Nobody knows. Shortly after our Dreamforce conference in San Francisco in September, this image appeared from a Canadian organization. The Canadian organization was called Adbusters. And their message was, what is our one demand? And it was a picture of this ballet dancer on the Wall Street Bull. And at the bottom it said, pound, Occupy Wall Street. It was a hashtag. It was an indication to go ahead and use Twitter. It was an indication to go ahead and use Twitter to communicate this. And it said, September 17th, bring a tent. Everyone in this room knows what happened, right? It was the beginning of Occupy Wall Street. It was the beginning of this amazing change, this amazing transformation. And in the United States, where I live, we're not so sure how to think about this. Even Occupy San Francisco was right below my office. And Occupy Oakland, and Occupy Atlanta, and Occupy Iowa. And I know there's also Occupy Tokyo, and this kind of social movement that happened faster than ever before because the technology enabled it. The technology empowered it. But I can tell you, I was born in 1964, so I didn't experience the 60s and the 70s as somebody who was active in those movements, but I certainly was surprised when only a few moments after this and the protest started to see images coming out of the United States like this. At UC Davis, police officers took pepper spray, something that's regarded as a weapon in the United States, and to peaceful protesters who are expressing a level of civil disobedience in a nonviolent way, sprayed them directly with the pepper spray. And our own veterans who were returning from Iraq and Afghanistan, who were peacefully marching in these protests, were attacked by our own government. This individual is an Iraqi veteran who was hit in the head through an aggressive use of tear gas at an event. The technology is creating incredible change. The societal impacts worldwide are being felt. But for us to understand where this is going, we have got to look back to the past. History can be our guide in many ways. And when I saw these images, it took me back to 1970, to Kent State, where again, our own U.S. military opened up fire on college youth who were essentially peaceful protesters, unarmed, and simply trying to deliver a message of change and a message of social disruption. And now is the time for all of us to take a step back. Because at Dreamforce in September, we called for this concept of a social revolution. And we meant it in terms of Facebook and Twitter and looking at this. But in our world, in our technology industry, we also need to think about how is this impacting all of society? How does this reflect our whole culture? Because what we're doing here today at this conference is more relevant and more material than ever.